Takže páni, sme tu na 2 razy prúdiť. Je 30.11.2024, začneme 19.18, píče sa majú 18.18, každému podľa augusta. Je sobota, takže sú zýbočerutí 15.15, 14.14, 13.13, 12.12, 11.11. Predné, zadné, predné, zadné. Dneska je 375. relaxačný tréningový deň. A skontujeme zvukovú stopu, či sedí. A ideme to rozprúdiť, tie prvé servátky začneme hneď točiť. No. A pod nás tu nevidím žiadny nejaký priechodný pod nás.
Thank you for helping with the investigation.
You collected enough demonic monostones, activating the storm magic circle. I gave 50 extra tokens to the one who completed the last magic circle.
Nie je tu nič také prevratné. Dám ešte refreshing.
The demonic monostone you got will be used well.
Tam si tohto pustíme, tohto pieťu server. Tohto šťavnatého.
Hello, this is ID Damage and welcome back to the channel. In this Path of Exile 2 video, I want to talk to you about Ascendancy classes. There's been a lot of information coming out about Path of Exile 2, and at the time of recording, we are 10 days away from the launch of Early Access. Early Access is paid to play. You have to pay $30 to gain access, unless if you've spent a lifetime payment. I think it's if you spend at least $480 or more on Path of Exile 1, then you're kind of vetted in. They'll send you a key for the beta for Path of Exile 2. Now remember, when PoE 2 does launch, it will be free to play. So this is just kind of to get your beta access. But in this video, we're going to talk about ascendancies. We're not going to break down every single ascendancy. I've spent a lot of time rewatching the video that they showed talking about the new endgame and stuff like that for PoE 2. And they covered all the ascendancy classes. Perhaps in the future I'll do kind of more of an extended video on that. But in this one, I just want to talk about what I want to play when Early Access starts here in 10 days or so. When Beta Early Access for PoE 2 launches, there's going to be 6 classes. Each of those 6 classes are going to have 2 ascendancies, so that's 12 ascendancies. And I've narrowed it down to about 5 that I'm considering playing at the launch. And what I want to do here is pop up the video, listen to it, and kind of talk about each of the 5 that I've kind of pointed out. So the 5 we're talking about here is going to be Stormweaver, Warbringer, Pathfinder, Infernalist, and Invoker. Let's go ahead and talk about it right now. All right, we went ahead and jumped into the video here. So
as a sorceress, you could become a Stormweaver.
This is the Stormweaver.
The Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time.
So the first thing that attracted me to the Stormweaver here, I don't know, I always call it Tempest Caller. That's the node, not the actual ascendancy. So the actual ascendancy is Stormweaver, and what attracted to me this was the elemental storm. And then whenever you crit with spells, you trigger this elemental storm. It just sounded awesome, like a way to kind of just blast out more elemental damage and stuff like that.
You do a critical hit with a spell. With Strike twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage. And going deeper into the tree, you can make all your damage types apply Shock. Make a Shock build from any skill. Alternatively,
and then also being able to stack up your shocks and stuff like that. I mean, it sounds pretty basic. I can't wait to actually see the full tree and dive in a little bit more. But that's Stormweaver. We also got the double shocks, and then allowing other or all of your abilities to apply shocks as well. It just sounds really awesome. I typically will do like fire builds or elemental builds. I love the sorceress mage kind of playstyle typically, so I think that's why this one kind of stood out to me at first. But we have 4 other ascendancies here that I'm thinking about as well. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about the Warbringer. This is going to be an ascendancy of the warrior class. I'm going to jump back into the video here again. These are really short clips, so it's really kind of hard to decide. And it may be remember like on launch day, just decide that this is kind of what I've been thinking so far.
and cast all his spells again. On the warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer channels the might of his ancestors to gain tremendous power. Using Arts of Core, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to each of your totems.
So this one I thought, and I don't know if you really want to call it a minion build or what you want to call it, but the fact that you have like kind of two layers, right? You have your totems, which totem builds were always fun in Path of Exile 1, but then this one you have ancestral spirits linked to those totems, so you can do like even more. It just sounds awesome, and to see what you can do with all the different spirits and stuff like that. So I don't know, it sounds awesome. Like an advanced totem build. And then the Jade Heritage as well for that defensive cooldown. It's on Path of Exile 1, one of the builds I'm currently working into. But
The body and a protective layer that absorbs all.
but then I thought you could also be buffing up your spirits, your totems and stuff as well, and kind of just keeping yourself alive while they're kind of doing some of the damage as well. It's another thought process here.
Until it breaks. Warcaller's Bellow allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies. And with Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldowns of your
You
wolf.
can spam cooldowns and you can explode corpses.
The Titan
It just sounds awesome. Titan Flash sounds pretty cool. That one's not currently on my list, but maybe we'll see. That will allow you to use two-handed weapons with one hand, kind of like the Diablo 3 thing you could do on there. But anyway, that was the Warbringer. I really like the idea of those totems and the ancestral spirit setup. Sounds pretty fun. Next up, we have the Ranger. We're talking about the Pathfinder Ascension is the one I want. Now, this one's going to have poison flasks. This one sounds really cool. It kind of reminds me a lot of the Diablo 4 Rogue. And we're talking about Path of Exile 2 here, but I just love action at the
Activating
beginning
the
general.
storm magic circle.
But so
I get
getting
50
to
extra
that 10
tokens to
days
the one
can't
who
go
completed
fast.
the last
So this is
magic
the
circle.
Pathfinder, and I just think it sounds awesome if you can throw out flasks and apply poison and stuff. I think there's also you can do different
Should
other
finally
types
be
of
over.
elements, not just
At
poison.
least for now.
Let's go ahead and see.
These are the adventurers who gathered
She
the
can
most
choose from one of
tokens for this
several
mission.
throwable concoctions, allowing her to
This
spin her
time,
fast
we make
characters to
great
throw
progress
explosive
by
bombs to
strengthening
deal
the barrier.
various types of damage.
We're getting
A
closer to
bleeding
causing the
concoction will
flooding
make your
monarch.
enemies
Soon we'll deal with the
dominating
seal
one
at its
shock,
origin.
allowing you to do extra damage.
We'll continue to strengthen the barrier until we can finally put an end to this
Overall
pain.
toxicity doubles the number of stacks that can be infected by.
That's a lot of poison. Think about that.
Salt allows her to move much more quickly.
You
while firing.
adventurer.
Think about that. You're applying poison and then also not just applying it, but also spreading it as well. Like it's just going to stack up so quick. I love the high poison stacks. I really like that. I'm thinking about one of the builds I had in last Epoch as well. Poison's pretty fun. Try to stack up. And I think what's the other one? Movement speed while moving.
While relentless pursuit makes her totally immune to being slowed by enemies. The witch can
So you get a little bit more mobility there. And we also saw that with the other ascendancy class for Ranger. I think the other ascension class for Ranger is Deadeye. We saw some mobility there as well, I believe. The next one we have here, and I think this is probably one of the most popular, the most talked about ascendancy classes. This is for the Witch. This is the Infernalist. You can straight up turn into Lilith with this thing. Let's go ahead and watch the video.
Sport of Blood Mage. As an Infernalist, she can summon a loyal Hellhound companion.
So you get a Hellhound.
Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets hit.
Yep.
With Pyromantic Pact, you can
So the Hellhound's going to also take, I think it was 20% of the damage you take, so it's also going to help with survivability. And then also applying, I'm assuming, Ignite stacks, things like that.
turn your mana
And then this was the other thing they showed that's really, really kind of cool too, is you can turn your mana bar into a whole different resource type, like this flame resource. Now, if you ever played, there's a game called Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr. They have a class on there that it reminded me of this. And on that Inquisitor Martyr game, you would have a resource bar, and the more full it got, or what was it? The more full or the more of the resource you use, whatever it was, the more dangerous monsters would start to spawn in there since you're becoming more corrupt or whatever. So I don't know, I just saw some similarities in there, and that's a really good thing. So I liked that class. It's pretty fun on Inquisitor Martyr. But
Infernal Flame. As you cast more spells,
there's two different kind of versions here with the
you'll take damage.
Infernalist.
Using Bringer of Flame, you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up. While your Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies.
So if you're above 30%, you Hello Exiles, and today I'm going to be giving you some news updates that's come from the Jonathan interview from the Korean interview that happened early this morning. Now, I couldn't sleep and I watched the entire interview and managed to pull some good information, which we're going to run through in a minute. Before we get there, just to let you know, I am going to be streaming live on Twitch next week. The link is in the description. I would greatly appreciate it if you would join me. And if you want to watch me on YouTube instead, which I will also be streaming on YouTube, then throw us a subscribe and you will get a notification when I go live. And finally, if you are wanting to win an early access key for the early access on Friday, then I will be holding a draw on Thursday. The video for this is in the description below. So once you finish this video, if you want to go and join in and you want to try and compete with everyone else, then go and watch that video and good luck. With that being said, let's jump into this. So the interview that happened earlier this morning was quite fun. Obviously, the Korean interview involved quite a bit of translation, so there is probably only around about 20 to 25 questions asked, as quite a bit of the time is the Korean translator going back and forth. However, the information that we did manage to obtain from this was quite crucial, and I'm going to go through those with you now. So the first piece of information that he did confirm is that melee is very strong, and when you compare melee to range, you do definitely get the payoff when you go into melee range with a melee character. He then does go on to discuss, obviously in the next question, in regards to dodging skills, that it is easier to dodge skills when you are within melee range rather than ranged characters. And he did bring up an example when a boss does an arc fire attack. If you are right next to the boss, then you can just roll behind him and you will avoid the entire arc. Whereas if you are a ranged character, then you are smack bang in the middle of this arc ability. You are either going to have to roll towards him, roll to the sides, or roll backwards to get out of range. And he said so it is technically a lot more difficult to dodge skills and abilities from bosses when you are playing as a ranged character. The next thing he does discuss is that there is going to be a new MTX shop in Path of Exile 2, where you will be able to try before you buy any MTX. So you'll be able to see it on your character prior to buying, and you will have a close-up of inspection of the character before you actually buy. That is going to be a massive improvement, because the amount of people that I see that will usually look at an ability, they'll buy it, or they'll look at some sort of skin, they'll buy it, and then it doesn't look any good because they've not seen what it looks like on their specific character. So having this integration into the shop is going to be very, very nice. The next thing Jonathan discussed is that a lore book is something that he is very keen to add into the game, not on early access, but in the future. If somebody wants to read something about the lore, then he is wanting something within game to be able to describe that and exactly what happened, with a bit of a detail and a bit of a story and maybe some imagery to go along with it. That is something that he is looking to potentially add in the future, but not for quite some time. But for any of you lore fanatics out there, that will be very good in terms of helping you understand everything. He was then asked in regards to the amount of third-party application softwares that Path of Exile needs, and says, does Path of Exile 2...
Zombie. Ešte z nej to vypuknú. Takže za nami 375. relaxačný tréningový deň za nami. 375. Bola sobota 30.11.2024, skončili sme 19.33. Piče sme 18.33 každého podľa augusta. Segment trval 15 minút a 40 sekúnd.